Hey there, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Here we are yet again. Hate to report these things, but they seem to be happening all too often the last couple of years. So we've lost another one of the greats. It's been reported today, actually, I guess last night, we first heard the 11th of November, 2021. We lost one of the great fusion guitarists of the last 50 years, John Goodsall from brandx. Born February 15th, 1953, he leaves us at the age of 68, November 11th, 2021. 68 years old, kind of young. Um, and as of yet, no explanation for the cause of death. Left us kind of suddenly. Most of us were pretty shocked to hear this. Of course, he's the one of the founding members of brandx, along with Percy Jones and Phil Collins and Brian Lumley, right? One of the great fusion bands of all time. He's appeared on pretty much everything that they've ever done, starting with Unorthodox Behavior back in 1976, of course, this featuring the four-piece that I just explained. Phil Collins, John Goodsall, Robin Lumley, and Percy Jones. Again, most of the guys in this band coming from the fusion and or prog scene, right? But they did this album. So again, 1976, right when Genesis is first starting to break big. But of course, Phil Collins always had that kind of jazz and fusion background. And Mr. Lumley, great keyboard player. Percy Jones, unbelievable on the fretless bass. And then you got Goodsall playing his scorching speed of light solos. He's another one of those guys alongside McLaughlin and Billy Connors and Al Di Meola and Larry Coryell, those guys with just really savage players that rooted in jazz, but they're also pretty serious rock players as well. So you got albums like Unorthodox Behavior and Rock and Roll and Masks, right? You've got Product, all these great albums throughout the course of the 70s into the 80s. Do They Hurt? John Goodsall's playing is in the middle of all of it, right? Is There Anything About? What else? Excommunication. This came out in 1992, so now we're into the 90s. You got Manifest Destiny, Live at the Roxy in LA, some great live stuff. The Missing Period, all sorts of recordings that were not used on previous albums. And then, of course, the great live album, Livestock, from 1977. And an amazing player who probably doesn't get enough credit when you look at all the great fusion bands. I think, brandx as a band was more than, there was no real guy in the band that kind of stood out above everybody else. They were a true band. So you had Percy Jones, you had the amazing bass player, the amazing keyboard player, Robin Lumley. You had Phil Collins was one of the few drummers that were in the band. Obviously Phil was the one who got a lot of attention, a lot of eyes on the band. But then you had John Goodsall's guitar playing, just a frenetic player who was just so talented. And he did other things besides for brandx. I mean, he also played under a different name because obviously I probably couldn't use it at the time. But he also played on the Atomic Rooster album, Nice and Greasy. He's on that as well. He played a bit on the Feels Good to Me album, Bill Bruford's Feels Good to Me album. He was also in the Fire Merchants in the late 80s into the early 90s. And he played on various other things over the years, but most people remember him as the Fire in brandx, and up until very recently, manning and leading that band. Up until not long ago, basically brandx had become his band. We had Percy Jones had made his exit from the band not long ago, so it was left to John to basically drive that band. But yeah, he's going to be missed. Definitely an important player on the fusion scene. If you're someone who loves bands like Return to Forever, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Tony Williams' Lifetime, the 11th House, that sort of thing, I mean, brandx were contemporaries and deserve to be mentioned amongst all of those bands. And I think if I was to recommend some of the greatest of the brandx catalog, you've got to go with the debut Unorthodox Behavior. You've got to go with Rock and Roll. You've got to go with Masks. And if you want a great live album. Livestock is definitely one to check out. But you really can't go wrong with any of these albums. The early stuff are more kind of the ensemble playing. I think some of the later albums that came out in the 90s and whatnot were more less kind of keyboard oriented and more just about the guitar, bass, and drums. Definitely a little more loud and rock based or prog based, whatever you want to call it. But those early ones, total fusion. Total fusion, some really, really good stuff there. A great player. He's going to be missed. I mean, this kind of hurts because such a great band that all of us fusion fans just love, and such a tremendous, tremendous guitar player that, like I said, I don't think ever really got his due. And his death just kind of comes out of nowhere, pretty unexpectedly. So, John, rest in peace. We're going to miss you. Yeah, another one of the greats gone way too soon. So, John Goodsall leaves us at age 68, November 11th, 2021. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Please go out and listen to some of these classic brandx albums and celebrate the life and music of John Goodsall. I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you real soon. Bye-bye.